Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from AnthonysCustoms, and for this review, we are looking at the SH Figuarts Pokemon the Movie I Choose You 20th Anniversary figure. I didn't realize it was about the movie, I just noticed that, so that's why I read it like that. Anyway, this is Ash Ketchum with Pikachu. It's a relatively basic figure, but they did some things surprisingly well, and one thing that's kind of irritating, so we're going to talk about all of that. And I think you guys are going to be pretty interested to see this. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about 13.5 centimeters, almost exactly to the very top of his hat, which makes him just about 5.25 inches. So size-wise, he's pretty good size for your SH figures. He's going to fit in pretty well. If you wanted to mix him into a Smash collection, I don't think you'd have too much trouble, even though it's not necessarily accurate. I could see a lot of people mixing their Nintendo characters, so why not? And I still consider Pokemon a Nintendo thing, even though it's technically not. Anyway, it's a pretty solid figure. I gotta say I'm pretty impressed with it for the most part, but there are, as I mentioned, a couple of things that bother me a little bit. The paint on this thing is really clean. I don't have any real issues with it. You'll notice a little bit of sloppiness around the pocket right here, that yellow line, but the rest of the yellow is clean enough. I'm not really gonna worry about it too much. It's definitely good enough. And then the hat's nice and clean, no problem there. The belt is painted really well, so I like that. The face looks really accurate. The only real, or the shoes also, I forgot to mention that. The shoes look really good, but the only real thing I have that's wrong with the paint or color scheme is that the skin tone is a little bit yellow. It looks a little bit strange. It's not quite the right color, quite accurate. It's not terribly off, but it is something that you may notice. But otherwise, it's pretty darn good. Okay, so let's talk about the accessories before we talk about the figure anymore. For the head, we actually have a few different options. The hat can be turned around, so you can have it facing forward or backward with either face. And then you do have the option to take the hat off, and so you'll have an alternate hairpiece to change that with. And they both look really good. There's really no issues with that, so that's pretty cool. We have a few different hands. We have the two fist hands that come on him in the package, and then we have a right hand for him that's holding a Pokeball, which actually looks, it's a really, really nice accessory. I like that a whole bunch. And then we also have another right hand, which is a pointing finger. So we have no variety for the left side at all, which is kind of a bummer. I was really hoping to be able to pose the pointing finger with the Pokeball hand, so he could be like pointing at another Pokemon saying, I'm gonna Pokeball your ass type of thing. So that would have been cool, but instead we only have a fist hand for his left side no matter what. I don't really care for that too much. We do have a Pikachu, so let's actually go ahead and look at the Pikachu because it has a little bit of articulation. The tail is fixed, it's a little bit soft, so that's okay, but there's no articulation there. The head is on a ball peg, so it'll move around a little bit. If you move it too much or look at it from any angles, it doesn't look good at all, which is not unlike the actual Pikachu release, which is about this big. But it can move around, so if you want him to just stand there, you can do that and turn his head. If you want to put him in like a running pose, you can do that as well. But here's the thing about the running pose, and I'll talk about this articulation in a second. The feet are static. They cannot move, and they're in a standing pose. So if you want him to look like he's running, you have to not look at his back feet, which is just kind of weird. I'm not sure why they did that. Now, you do have some articulation here, which will help you make him a little bit more natural. You can lean him forward and back, and you can rotate him. And you can even lean him a little bit side to side, so he does have some options, but having the arms perpetually forward like that almost makes it worthless for anything but a four-legged stance, but then his feet are still set up for standing. It's just not great. It's painted well, and it'll do as an accessory, but it's really not well thought out. I don't understand why they couldn't just put a ball peg or a hinge or something for the feet. Whatever, it's not terrible, but it's not great. And he does come with a little clear piece that you can peg into Ash's back, and then you can kind of just set Pikachu on it, which kind of cheats, but you do have that. So, and that's it. There's not too much going on with this figure in terms of accessories. Like I said, it's a pretty basic figure, but it is executed mostly well. So the head's on a ball hinge, just like you would expect any of your Dragon Ball Figuarts to have. So it moves around just fine. The neck is also on a ball peg, so you won't really have any issue posing this guy's head or neck. That's fine. The jacket is really soft. The collar is not. It's a separate piece. It's hard plastic, but the rest of the jacket is soft, so that'll be okay. We have a ball peg that connects the shoulder to the torso, so it moves around like that. And then we have our hinge that you would expect, and it comes out perfectly horizontally, so that's fine. You can technically rotate the sleeve where the peg goes down through the sleeve. You can rotate that if you want to, but you do also have an actual bicep swivel underneath the sleeve, so that's really nice. Single jointed elbow, but you get a little bit better than 90 degrees, and I think that's okay. That's just fine by me. For the wrists, we have a little tiny ball hinge, just like your Dragon Ball figures. This guy is pretty much like your classic Dragon Ball figures in terms of articulation, mostly. We have what I think is just a single ball peg and a single ball peg for the two torso parts. I couldn't quite get in there to tell for sure, but he moves around pretty well. As you can see, he bends over no problem. He can lean back a little bit. It's not so far, but it's definitely enough. Leaning side to side is definitely really good. And then, of course, you have your rotation. You will get a little bit of gapping here and there, but as long as you're careful with it, you should be able to use those two joints in conjunction with each other just fine and be able to pose him really well. For the hips, we have your standard hinged ball peg, so that drops down and you can give him better range. And when you do drop it down, you can bring that leg all the way forward and up. It's a really, really nice range, and there's no twisting or anything involved. It just goes right where you want it. You can bring the legs out pretty far, not full-on splits, but pretty darn far. I mean, they did a really good job. So just in case you're not familiar, you do have a ball peg in there, which the socket can move around on, and then the thigh itself will rotate around that for a thigh swivel. So you get really, really good range out of these hips. I'm very pleased with that. For the knee, it's just a single jointed knee, and it's not the best looking in the world, but I'll take it. It's not bad. There's no huge gaps. It's just a little seamy, let's call it that. You can see the seams, but it'll do. It's not my favorite look for a baggy pants knee. I really just prefer to have the sculpt tuck in so that when you hinge it, you can still see the sculpted part. But this will definitely do because it fills in the gaps pretty well. So I like that. And it's better than 90 degrees, so that's pretty good. As far as the ankle goes, you have your standard ball hinge in there. So it's surprisingly good. Not the best range forward and back, but it's definitely enough. I mean, it's not like Ash is going to be doing karate or anything, so I think that'll work. And you can rotate it around to give yourself an ankle rocker, which again, it's not the most in the world, but it'll definitely get the job done. And we have a toe hinge, which is actually done surprisingly well. It's not a perfect design because you can see a little bit of gapping in there, but from the profile, it's nice and flush. So it's pretty good. I'm very pleased with this. It's not a perfect figure, but it's definitely what it should be for the most part. And I think if you are even thinking about getting this, you probably should, because it's a really nice set, and it's Ash. How can you not get an Ash Ketchum figure if you grew up in the 90s? I think you're probably going to want to get it. So go ahead and do that. It should be in stock at Big Bad Toy Store. I don't think they've sold out, but they might have. So either way, check the link in the description below. Get one before they do sell out, because we never know if they're going to reissue these things or not, and it's a really solid piece. So definitely check it out, guys. I think you'll like it. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, guys. I have new videos up every single day. We talk about action figures, movies, TV shows, video games, all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure you come back for that. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. And in the meantime, keep collecting.